Welcome back to episode 43, Spittin Hoops Podcast. We're back here previewing the playing games, some awards. Anthony, how are we feeling? We're just going to get right into it.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart to everybody, happy Patriots Day. If you are from the New England region, you might know about this day. The marathon is run on this day. I believe it's the third Monday of every April. So, to all of those who practice, happy Patriots Day. And also, happy non-basketball day. Very excited for the play-in to come tomorrow.
To all of us who practice is insane, first of all. We're going to keep moving. Anthony this morning told me when he found out the rest of the world doesn't celebrate Patriots Day, he was shocked. Um,
And disappointed.
And disappointed apparently too. So with that, we're just gonna get right into it. We're just gonna do a quick plan preview, and then we're just gonna delve right into awards, who we would give awards to. Maybe we'll talk about who we thought won awards who we thought were gonna win awards before the season, etc. But first, some recent news. Shams tweeted today, Giannis might miss some time into the first round. The Bucks, obviously, they're matching up in the 3-6 matchup against the Pacers. We'll talk about that later, but just wanted to acknowledge that like, we know about that. That's a big deal.
Huge deal.
Yeah. Um,
Especially against the Pacers, dude. Not the team you want to see if you're the Bucks without
yeah.
Giannis.
I don't love that matchup for the Bucks. Like, if they have Giannis, I mean, in theory, they should win. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's just jump right into the plans really quick. On the West, in the West, obviously, we have the Kings versus the Warriors, and then we have the Pelicans versus the Lakers. First of all, great matchups, spicy in the West. Both games were really good. Obviously, the Warriors Kings matchup is a rematch of the first round matchup they had last year. Pelicans, once again, in the playing games. I feel like they're always in the play-ins. But now they're going to be at home against the Lakers. I've been seeing some great tweets, some great content about how the Lakers should lose against the Pelicans to avoid the Nuggets in round one.
Please.
Anthony, how do we feel about that?
I hate that take. That's a terrible take, first off, just to start. Lakers, do your thing. The Lakers have the Pelicans number. They keep beating them consistently, whether it's in the in-season tournament, whether it's yesterday. And I honestly do believe that the Lakers probably packed a second pair of clothes just to play against the Pelicans because they knew what was going to happen in case the Suns ended up winning, which they did. So, objectively, though, I don't know, Max, how you feel about this, but never, ever, ever, if there's a chance that you losing could mean you don't continue your postseason, do not take that risk. What is the point?
Yeah, I completely agree. Especially it's like you're just asking to have the Kings or the Warriors make 35 threes against you and you just have no chance in the second playing game. Like that's totally
Right.
possible, especially in
100%.
today's NBA.
Yeah.
And it's like who's to say they're even going to beat the Pelicans?
Right.
Like I don't know. I'd love to see the line on that game.
Yeah.
Like the betting line, but I'm trending towards the Pelicans, interestingly enough, at home.
Ooh.
At home, I think that stadium's going to be rocking. I know they don't match up super well and haven't matched up super well historically against the Lakers, but if the Lakers start slow, like they're just going to start raining threes, especially at home. Um, I don't know. I kind of like the Pelicans. I'm not like dead set on it. Obviously, this is a one game play in, right? But yeah.
I feel you. I do like the Lakers. I just feel like LeBron is not really gonna take this opportunity for granted to squander it. I feel like again, like we said, the Lakers have the Pelicans number this season, especially in important games. Zion really did not show up yesterday in a way that I was impressed. It just kind of felt like the Lakers were controlling the game consistently, and all their auxiliary guys were making plays, hitting shots. Austin Reeves was playing well. D'Lo was playing well. Rui was playing well. So, and then of course AD and LeBron are the guys that you need to have. So, I'm gonna zig where you're zagging. I'm gonna take the Lakers in this one.
I kind of feel like I'm the one zagging here, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I mean, again, I don't feel too strongly about this. One game play in, one game play in. Also small things like the Pelicans have actually been a better home team than they've been on the road. Lakers, they've been hot as of late, unlike the Pelicans. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I totally see that. And then on the other side, we have the Warriors going up to Sacramento, uh, which is also going to be a jumping stadium, for the second playing game, the 10-9 game. Whoever gets to play the loser of the other game. And I've got the Warriors. You know I have to. You know I have to take my Warriors.
Max, what do you have the Warriors?
Okay, so this is actually, I mean, we were chatting about this previously. So I think this matchup is gonna be really interesting because it's gonna be very different compared to last year's matchup. It's gonna be very different compared to all the earlier matchups. Um, Obviously there's no Kevin Huerter, there's no Malik Monk. Trace Jackson Davis is starting for the Warriors now, pretty much playing 25 minutes a game at this point. Keon Ellis is playing 25 minutes a game at this point for the Kings. These are not guys who were playing in last year's playoffs or even guys that were playing earlier this year in their matchups. Um, Honestly, I just think it's there. Sabonis is going to be neutralized pretty easily on a defense that's throwing down Trey Jackson Davis and Draymond Green. And I
The
just,
ghost of Kayvon Looney, perhaps, as well.
yeah, maybe, yeah, exactly. Like, and even then, Looney's barely been playing at this point because Trace just takes up all those minutes and
Yeah.
Draymond just plays backup center, So I don't know. I would feel differently about this if Monk and Herder, if last year's Herder was playing, because this year's Herder, a little rough. But if both those guys were playing, I'd probably feel a little bit differently about this game. Those are like absolute flamethrowers, but yeah, I kind of like the Warriors' chances here.
Sure. I feel you. I'm fully going off of vibes here. And I'm also going with the Warriors, dude. I feel like the Warriors have the Kings number. I do not know how their regular season matchups went this season.
I think it went 2-2, or maybe like Kings
I
3-1.
think you're right. I do think it was 2-2.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Um, but either way, I just think Steph, after what happened in that game 7 where all the chips were on the line, he just said, "Hey guys, you follow me and I'll take you to the promised land." So I think that that's what's going to happen. I feel like the brightest stars are going to shine tonight, tomorrow night, and I think that that's what's going to end up happening. So I'm with you. We disagree on Pelicans Lakers, but I think we're pretty square on what will happen with Kings and Warriors.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, I don't want to be too biased, but I really like my Warriors here. I don't the On the other hand, I don't like the Warriors against the loser, either loser of the Lakers Pels game. Like I kind of tend to think as good as this Kings Warriors game is gonna be,
Mm.
kind of feels like that team is gonna lose in the second playing game. Obviously, that would be close, but
Yeah, I mean, and we'll have to get there when we get there, right? Because we
yeah.
can't stipulate on who's going to lose to the team that's going to lose to whatever. But
Yeah.
uh,
If the Pels get spanked by 30 and the Warriors spank the Kings by 30, maybe I'll feel a little bit different about that second
sure,
playing game.
right. Yeah, no, valid.
Yeah.
Either way, dude, can we just say like these are amazing matchups to be having in the play-in game? Both of the 9 and 10 seeds have 46 wins, which is just absolutely unheard of. And we're just so privileged compared. We'll talk about the East in a second, but just we'll talk about the 9-10 in the East, and it just will not be the same level that we're going to be talking about in the West.
100%. I mean, in the East, I guess we'll start transitioning into the East here if you want. But like the 9-10 game in the West is two teams that are 10 games above 500. In the East, the 9-10 game is two teams with losing records. So, there's just a gap. Like, it is what it is.
The Warriors could go on a heater and make it to the conference finals, and I don't think anybody would be tearing their hair out surprised, right? Like that level of surprise. They'd be shocked. They'd definitely be like, whoa, didn't see that coming. But versus with the East, which we'll talk about in a second, this would be just different.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you want to take it away in the East then?
Sure, yeah. So in the East, let's start with, I guess, the 7-8 game as well. Great matchup. Sixers versus Heat, a repeat of 2 seasons ago where the Heat ended up beating the Sixers in the second round, 4-2, I believe, in 6 games. Embiid was out for part of those games. Embiid tends to just have a history of injuries during this time of the season, but going to be a very, very interesting matchup to see, both in terms of who advances into the playoffs and ends up playing against that 2 seed, and then who has to play against Bulls or Hawks team that can get hot at any time.
Yeah, this is one of the best playing games I think we're gonna see for a long time. Like
Oh yeah.
Sixers shouldn't even be in a playing game. Embiid was out for a long time. The standings ended up being super close. I mean, these are both teams that are 10 games above 500, right? Um, but also their storylines. Like Jimmy Butler used to be on Philly, like they've got beef. Both teams do not want to play the Celtics in the first round. Like, frankly, like as much as I'm sure, like the Heat, if you ask them, they'd be like, "Oh, like if we lose game one, we'll win game two. It is what it is." Like, but no team wants to play the Celtics in the first round when you can go potentially have a route that takes you through the Knicks, the Bucks, etc. Not saying that's easy,
Yeah.
but that might be easier than facing the Celtics than the Cavs or the Celtics and the Magic, right? Um, I kind of got the
We
oh,
going?
so my head says the Sixers. This is in Philly. Embiid's back there, 8-2. They've looked great. They've looked great. My heart says the Heat because playoff Jimmy Butler. I'm not gonna pick playoff Jimmy Butler happening 2 years in a row to this extent. So I'm gonna go Philly. But yeah.
Oh, I don't like that we're agreeing as much as we have been.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a buddy recently, and I'm gonna lean into this take. I think that if the Sixers win this game, which I feel like they probably will, I think that they are going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. This is a bold prediction, perhaps, some might say, but with Giannis out, granted he's the 3 seed right now, and they get to play the Pacers, and we'll see kind of what shakes out there. But he's the best player in the Eastern Conference. I feel like he's just unbelievably dominant. They haven't lost a game with him in the lineup. And they're on an 8 game win streak right now, I think. Tyrese Maxey kind of has his groove back, knowing who the best player on the team is back. Love their depth. We talked about this already. But for me, I'm just gonna put it down right now. I think that the Sixers are the second most likely team to make the Eastern Conference Finals. And I really like where they're at. And unless they lose this first game, and then the Sixers can respectively go jump off a cliff. But other than that, I do think that the way that the matchup looks, nobody has the ability to stop Embiid. Just nobody. And even against the Heat, we kind of saw it a little bit in 2022. But I feel like now that the Sixers have waited and Embiid's meniscus is fully healthy, you don't bring him back in unless you're fully confident that he's going to be ready to go. The way he's been dominating recently, I just don't know who's going to stop him. I feel like he's kind of hit this new level that we're all excited to see. You mentioned it yourself, they should not even be a playing game. So this just feels different.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very fair take, and I think I wouldn't say it's probable that's gonna happen, but I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna wait to give that take till I see the playing game because, if
sure.
Miami wins, that just flies out the window, frankly. Then they go into a dogfight against the Celtics, right? So it is
Yeah.
what it is. Hawks Bulls. I
Mm.
don't really have too much to talk about here. I kind of think the Bulls are probably going to win. It's in Chicago. They clutch up in situations like these. They're deep, but Trey and DeJounte, I mean, they'll show up.
I'm gonna watch this game. I don't have too much of an analysis on this take. I just can only relay it to how the Hawks have played against the Celtics recently, which is very, very good. I saw some stat that when the Hawks play with one of their guards, like DeJounte, no Trey, they're 500, and Trey, no DeJounte, they're 500, but with both, they're like 41% win percentage. I
That's
don't know.
kind of crazy.
You seen that one?
That's crazy. No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's like a very specific stat. So, and they're both healthy. This is a weird one because I feel like the top of the talent of the Hawks is higher than the top of the talent of the Bulls. But the Bulls have a level of depth and grit that the Hawks don't quite seem to have.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with that, and that's why I'm trending towards the Bulls. I mean, they also had 3 more wins this season, like over a
Yeah,
long season. Obviously, the Hawks are dealing with injuries. Like they had injured players, and now you have like Onyeka Okongwu who's going to miss the rest of the season. Um, but yeah, I got the Bulls. if whoever wins this game, if they win a second playing game, chapeau. Like
Yeah.
as much as we should, the play-ins probably shouldn't have been triggered. Like we should have had the bubble rules for the play-ins. Like
We talk about that?
we did talk about that in the last pod, but
No.
if if one of these teams can win two straight, respect. Because there's a gap, frankly. I mean, there's a
Can
10.
we reiterate though that point? Because this is annoying. Why are the Chicago Bulls or the Atlanta Hawks even sniffing getting the opportunity to play with the Sixers or the Heat? This is ridiculous.
I feel like we're rewarding two teams that just like have played the game poorly and they're gonna get a chance to like 50-50 against a team into the play-in, you know?
Sure.
Like these are two teams that haven't built super well, probably should have blown it up, stalled. And this is your reward. Like, I mean, I guess it's a shitty reward too, but like it is what it is. Like that's the thing. Like if I feel like you're a little bit more impassioned than I am. Like if the Heat or the Celtics loses a one game plan against one of these teams, they should not be in the playoffs. I know I'm being pretty aggressive here, but like there is a 10 game gap between the Hawks and the Heat or the Sixers. Like there was a 10 game gap. Like I don't know.
But bro, like think about it. When the Lakers were in the bubble, they lost against the Blazers in the first game, and that was a 1-8 matchup. When the Raptors played the Magic in the first round, they lost their first game, and that was a
But
2-7 matchup. Like,
don't be in the bottom four. Don't be in the bottom four
but
then.
then you're in the top. Yeah, I
You're
mean,
it's not competitive. This is the thing. It's not balanced. Like
yeah.
to be totally fair, it is not balanced. But for the plot lines and stuff, it's fun. But on the other hand, do I want to watch Bulls Hawks on Wednesday? Not really.
Not really, dude. Love to watch Kings Warriors 100%, but those teams have earned it.
I mean, I think it's pretty fair. I think that's pretty fair. All right.
Yeah,
You want to move into awards?
let's do it.
All right. That wraps up our playing preview.
Plan.
We're gonna jump. I guess we're gonna jump right in here.
Let's do it.
MVP. Let's take it at the top. You want to
So
go this way?
let's do it. Yeah. So should we start with who we each had and then compare
I
to?
need to go find this. I don't know if I have this info.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So I guess then should we just start with who we think will win?
Yes.
All right. I feel like, all right. So I'll start.
Dang, I don't know if I have. I don't
That's
know.
fine. Valid, valid. I feel like you probably have pretty similar to who you had.
Yeah.
But for me, should we start with MVP?
Yeah. Let's take it from there.
MVP, I did have Tatum. I was very gung ho about Jason Tatum at the beginning of the season. My take was that he was going to be the best player on the best team. Spoiler alert, that already happened. But he didn't quite win enough good games, I feel like, as he should have. I do think he was clearly the best player on the best team, but there were opportunities thinking about against the Nuggets where he had an opportunity to win. Against the Thunder, they beat them, but they beat a team without Shea. They beat the Mavs, but it was just, I don't know. We're a very narrative driven team. So it just seemed like in times where he had an opportunity to close the game out, he didn't. So he didn't get that. So again, I'm a Celtics fan. I would love it if he was, but
I
just
mean, narrative driven or not, he did like he took a 3 point per game like dip. Although his percentages stayed the same, like the the per game numbers are just not as gaudy as I guess the guys will get to too. Like that's
which
that
yeah,
which is unfortunate because that shouldn't be the end all be all, but
right. Because you
it
get
there's
you
such a
of
gap.
all people, you of all people know this with Steph in his first MVP season, right? Like his
Yeah.
numbers were not impressive. I think he averaged like 24, 6, and 4.
23, 23.
Yeah, like if that. And a lot of times it's because they were just blowing teams out.
Yeah. No, and I think that's completely fair. But on the other hand, I mean Tatum's still playing 36 minutes a night. Like,
Right, right.
but I mean, I guess we can get to the guys who,
Who should or will win it.
yeah, like because I think Tatum is in this convo. I think he's in the
Yeah.
top five, but if we look at the top, I mean, I think it's Jokic, Luka. I think those are the two guys in the conversation for the winner right now. Which,
Yeah.
as much as I'm pretty sure I predicted Jokic or Luka to win it at the beginning of the season. I might be tweaking, but I feel like those were two of the more evident picks starting this year. And I mean, look what we got. You know?
Yeah. And the only other guy that we might have said, maybe you said him, I'm not sure, would have been Embiid.
Yeah, maybe.
And just what a shame, right, that we missed out on what was obviously the best player in the NBA at that time and just miss some games. But based on what we have, Max, who would you say is the MVP of the season?
I think it's impossible. First of all,
Yeah.
before I get like talk about this as a whole. I think this is an impossible pick. I think there's two guys who are fully, pretty clearly have the two best cases. One guy is probably a little bit more statistically proven. The other guy has a little bit more wins. Um, and I've got Nikola Jokic. Obviously, so the Nuggets finished tied for first in the West. Second seed is what they end up on. 26, 12, and 9 on 58% and 36% from the floor. First in PR, offensive win shares for 48. Offensive box plus minus, defensive box plus minus, actually, which is cool too. Value over replacement player, etc. So in every advanced stat, Jokic is number one. Nuggets also jumped from the 15th best defensive rating to the 8th best defensive rating as a team this year, and I think he had a big part to do with that. All that to say, I think he was the best player in the NBA this season, and I think the winning shows it, but I don't think the gap to Luka is that big.
I think that's fair. This is really close between the two of those guys. Luca put up 34, 9, and 9 or something like that this season, 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Um, so numbers that no guy in his 6 year have ever reached before. Unbelievable player. Will definitely win an MVP. For me, I'm just gonna guess based on what I think the voters are gonna go with, and I feel like that's gonna be Jokic. My big thing is who do I trust the most going into a game seven? And I feel like I very, very slightly have Jokic ahead of Luca. Even though there's Luca magic, even though he has this uncanny ability to hit scoop shot 3 pointers from any which way, Jokic just seems to have this control over the game in a way where the ball keeps moving, it keeps flowing, it has people talking about how they have a respect for playing basketball again once they've joined his team. It just seems a little bit different in a way where it hasn't been the same with, and Luka's absolutely incredible. And when it gets down to this, it if even if wins were square, I feel like you just kind of have to give it to Jokic here, based off of how good he's been this season. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, what, Luca, what? Yeah, like you said, 34, 9, 12, first in points per game, first in usage percentage. So the gap in usage percentage between him and the second guy is as big as the gap between the second guy and the 15th guy.
Okay.
Um, Second guy being Giannis Antetokounmpo, 15th guy being Julius Randle. So they really depended on Luka Doncic a lot this season. They ended up fifth in the West after finishing what, 11th in the West last year. They missed the playoffs. They got reinforcements mid-season, and Luka, helped them like work transition into that perfectly. If you pick Luka, I have no issues at all. Like the stats are amazing. The team is worse than the Nuggets team. And if frankly in a vacuum, if you swap both of them, like obviously the positions aren't exactly the same, but they both do very similar things for their team. They're offensive hubs. I just think something that was great about the MVP discourse this year is we kind of got to say, since it was so tight and there's so many qualified guys, it's like who's the best player in the NBA is the way I'm looking at it here. And I think the best player right now is Jokic. And I think Luka is just slightly worse. And guess what? When Luka wins a game seven on the road against the Clippers round one and then makes a Western Conference Finals, like maybe I'll feel differently. So
Like he did against the Suns in 2022 and then made it to the Western Conference Finals.
this one, I mean, T situation was very different. I also don't think
Oh.
they were not the second best team in the West that year. I think the Grizz were better than them in the West.
Ooh,
I think pretty aggressively the Grizzlies were better than the
they
Mavericks
were
that
good.
year.
They were good. Yeah.
They were more of a team too.
Just
Maybe
match differences.
yeah. That series would have been great actually because the yeah Warriors Grizzlies was a great series in 2022. But if we had got a
Yeah.
Grizzlies Mavericks heavyweight matchup like round two, like Ja just talking shit to Luca,
Oh my Lord.
and we'll
You
see
see
it
him
next
talking,
year.
you see him talking shit to LeBron?
Yeah. I can't wait for the Grizzlies to be back. They're gonna be so good next year. They're gonna win
They're
50 games.
so good. But also, can we real quick, sorry to tangent, but can we talk about that LeBron dunk to close out against the Grizzlies? That
Yeah.
was crazy. That
With
was
the steal.
amazing. That like steal that like got tipped right to him while he was sprinting down the court and just windmill dunked it.
Gross. Gross.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Back to MVP really quick
Yes,
though.
sir. Yes, sir.
I think the other three guys,
Yeah.
or the other four guys, the other three guys, because we already talked about Tatum. The
Yep.
other three guys that could be in the
Yeah.
top like five, for example, is like Brunson, Giannis, and SGA. I think SGA should be third. I feel pretty strongly about this. 17 win improvement for the Thunder, who were in the plans last year, 36-5 plus defense, 53% from the field, 35% from three, first in steals, free throws, third in PER as a guard, better PER than Luka Doncic, second in win shares, offensive win shares, and win shares per 48. So I think SGA was really aggressively the third best player. Also, if you had him MVP, I would disagree with that. Like that's the thing, the Luka thing. I wouldn't like hardcore disagree with that, but like SGA, I'd disagree if you picked him MVP, but I'm like, what an amazing season. He's like by far the third best on my ballot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's very valid. Led them to the number one seed in the West. You can have questions about the depth, which is probably why people lean Luca over SGA in terms of guard, who is better this season. But yeah, because you have Jalen Williams who took a step for sure, and he's amazing. Like whispers of him being all NBA third team, probably not, but whispers. Chet
Discourse.
Holmgren playing all 82 games. Shout out to the boy, and just an unbelievably deep team for the Thunder, who just kind of roll and roll and roll. What's their average age? Like 23.9 years old or something.
They're only gonna get younger when they dump Gordon Hayward too. So
Right, literally. So they've been amazing. He's amazing. And I don't know if he'll make an all defensive team this year, but he is at least an all defensive caliber type of player. So yeah, I mean, definitely has set himself apart in terms of certainly all NBA first team at the very least.
yeah, 100%. I think I probably have Giannis fourth and then Tatum fifth.
Yeah.
You know, I think you could even put Brunson ahead of both of those guys. I wouldn't feel that strongly. Just Brunson had to deal with a team that had so many injuries, like clearly the best team or the clearly the best player on the second best team in the East. But think about Giannis. I know they regressed by 9 games. He was amazing. I think his team's bad, frankly. Second in PR, third in value over replacement player, 30, 12, 6, 60% from the field. First player ever to shoot 60% from the field and average 30 a game, which I think is pretty impressive. So yeah,
Wait, hold on. Wait, what?
first player ever, I think, to score 30 a game and shoot 60% from the field for a whole season. Because Wilt pace was too high during Wilt's time. Wilt was missing a lot.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, Giannis.
Yeah, Wilt never did it. The one season Wilt shot 60% from the field, he scored 14 a game and was still third in MVP. Shout out Wilt. But
What
yeah,
what what year was that? Sorry. What year was he?
his second to last year, 71.
Was he was playing on the Lakers?
Yeah. And then actually another year he shot over 60% from the field, but that was his second to last year in Philly, 24 points per game.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, Giannis just did something we've never seen before. I've got him fourth. I think I got Tatum fifth. I got Brunson sixth. I don't feel too strongly about that order. Yeah.
I think that's valid. What's the point of fighting about all this stuff? But Brunson has been amazing, especially in this last portion of the season, willing the team to wins, believe that they won the last 5 games of the season to finish it up. I got a question for you. I feel like we agree on these. We'll just kind of go back real quick. So Jokic, Luca, Shea, Giannis, Tatum, Brunson,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. Embiid, so what, so if. How do you feel about the Knicks potentially messing with their seeding? People have been saying another one of those, should you blow your seeding based off of who you're playing? Not nearly as risky, but if the Knicks lose that game, they end up in the 3 seed, and then they have to play the Pacers in the first round, as opposed to the Sixers or the Heat. What do you think about that? They ended up winning the game, of course.
Well, you got to play them anyways. Even if you do that, you beat the Pacers. Now you got to play whatever team you're scared of enough to do that, and then you don't have home court advantage. So I'm pretty against it. Like I'd rather just take the first round matchup with the home court um, before either of those teams can get into a groove. Hopefully, um, yeah. So I pretty strongly. I think in most cases, tampering with your seeding is just not a good idea.
Awful.
But in this case where you would be giving up a home court advantage in the second round if like the Bucks won that series, um,
And Giannis is back and healthy and feeling good. Do you really want to do
then you
that?
just lose. Like frankly, like then you just
Yeah, yeah, respectfully.
yeah. I don't know. I guess we could just we could just tan this into the All NBA convo. Are your top five MVP guys your All NBA first team?
I think that's the same one that it is, right?
Yeah.
SGA, Luca, Tatum, Giannis, Jokic.
I think that's fair. I weirdly I could see like Brunson sneaking into top five MVP, but not being on All NBA first team. Because if we
Sure,
take the award by the term value, like the Knicks might be like not a playoff team without Brunson this year, frankly.
sure. I see that.
With all the injuries they dealt with, like, yeah. Had they been healthy, that's not the case, but yeah. Some other guy, I mean, do you want me to just run through I just lost my list. Do you have your list in front of you of who you've got on
Second
the
team.
uh all NBA teams?
I got my second team, guys.
Hit me.
So for my second team, we just talked about but Brunson. And then Anthony Edwards, I have for my other guard spot. I kind of did a little. I know that we don't really need to do the same level of um, guys in, guys out, whatever. But in terms of positionality, but I have Anthony Edwards as my other shooting guard. So led the Timberwolves to the third best record in the Western Conference. Cat was out for a lot of that. He balled. I'm happy about it. I actually had the Wolves as a top 4 seed in the West this year. Top 3, shout out. Um, and then I have Kevin Durant for honestly kind of based off of slightly aura, but just his splits this season were amazing. I think he was something like 27, 8, and 5 this year. And also he's just a guy I trust. And then I have surprisingly, people might hate this, but I have LeBron and AD as my other two second team all NBA guys. I like them a lot. I think watching LeBron the since the All-Star break, LeBron has been 28, 7, and 9 this post All-Star break on 56, 46% shooting from the 3-point line. So he's just been on another level. It just feels like he turned into Magic Johnson since his athleticism has kind of left him. So, anyways, that's my second team All NBA. I'll repeat it one more time for you, Max. Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis arguably has had moments and stretches where he's the best player in the league. So that's who I have. I want to hear what you got.
Sensational. I think that's a great list. So I've got very similar. I think Brunson and Ant. We don't need a rehash.
Sure.
Ant third in the West, really good, great. AD I did have as well.
Mm.
I think you could argue Sabonis, but I just think AD is pretty aggressively better at basketball, frankly.
Yeah.
Uh, and then this is tough. The last two spots. So you know me. There is a guy who plays for the Phoenix Suns now who left my basketball team. And he gave us a parting gift by signing the sign and trade with D'Angelo Russell. But I've been on the record as saying Devin Booker is substantially better than this guy for a while.
Mm,
Last year's playoffs, maybe I got a little too carried away. Maybe two playoffs in a row of great Devin Booker, I got carried away. But KD absolutely should be on the All NBA second team. And KD,
whew.
if you're watching this, send me a tweet, Loki. It'll get us some exposure. But yeah, I think KD absolutely deserves it. And
Second team?
absolutely deserves second team.
Nice.
And I did before the season, I did not think I was going to be saying this at all. And then instead of Braun, I got Kawhi. That's what I've got. I kind of want to reward the Clippers a little bit. I think Kawhi's played 70 games this year, 24 a game, 6 and 4 on 52%, 42%, and 90%, fifth in the league in steals. Um, yeah, I think the Clippers were a lot better. I think Kawhi's impact on the Clippers is actually pretty insane. I mean, he just had to play, right? We knew he's this good.
Yeah,
But yeah. But the LeBron pick, I have no issues with. He's on my third team. I think Kawhi and him are kind of picking carries for me.
sure. All right. Well, I mean, I'm not in the mood to argue with you, Max, and I think Kawhi is a valid second team All NBA guy, and he can turn into the best player at any point. So anytime you have a best player in the NBA on your All NBA second team, I won't argue with you on that one. So
Well, I appreciate that. And then after that, I guess do you want to do you got your third team ready? I'm ready to.
why don't you start?
All right. Start LeBron,
All
Steph
right.
Curry. I think
All
those
right.
are kind of evident.
Yep.
Tyrese Halliburton,
Yep.
Paul George.
Okay.
And the fifth slot is really difficult for me here. I think there's a lot of guys you can go with here. You can go with Jaylen Brown. You can go
Yep.
with Devin Booker. You can go with Domantas Sabonis. And I'm gonna go with Devin Booker. I think again, I don't love rewarding the Suns for two All NBA players, but I think that's how good those two guys are and how bad the rest of the team is, if we're being completely honest. Also, shout out Grayson Allen. 4 years, 70 million. Your agent is a bank robber. Holy crap.
So is his right arm, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 46% from three.
Yeah, keep your percentages up and shoot 13. I mean, score 13 points per game on really good percentages. He makes 70 million apparently.
That's
13 points per game. Oh,
on a team that is not looking for scoring, mind you.
yeah, I don't know. I we could talk. We'll
Sure.
rehash that. But
Yeah,
for now, that's a tangent. But yeah,
that's an off-season
that
podcast.
contract. I woke up this morning and that contract blew my mind. But yeah, anyways.
Valid. We actually have pretty close. So I also have Curry. I have Booker as well. I have Halliburton. Even though Halliburton really slowed down at the end of the season, which is
Yeah,
just tough to see, but I feel like we have to reward him for his first part of the season. They were top three seed for most of the year. Instead of LeBron, I have Kawhi. And then so you said Paul George?
yeah,
I had Paul George, and then I was thinking about it. I watched the last game of the year, and sometimes this is just what happens. And I really liked when I watched the Bucks versus the Magic. I just liked what Paolo was doing. I just
Woo!
control. If we pull up his stats real quick,
He looked great. Also, he looked great in that game. No Giannis, but looked
let,
great.
let me finna pull up his stats real quick. 23 a game, 7 boards, 5 assists. Just looks in control, just looks strong. I feel like I just trust him. And he led this team to a top three seed in the Eastern Conference, a tough Eastern Conference. I know the West, we can say all day that the West is a 10 out of 10 tough. That does not mean the East is not an 8 out of 10 tough. So I want to reward the young guy. Shout out to Paolo Banchero, who, in my mind, has rewarded himself with the top third team All NBA selection. But that does not mean that Paul George, who I in 2 podcasts ago selected as my second smoothest and silkiest player in the NBA, he blows Paolo Banchero out of the water in that regard. But Paolo just kind of gives a bit of a mini Braun vibe too, kind of just the way he drives when he's in transition. He's strong, he's quick, he needs to work on his jump shot, but he really is an all-around player, and he can be an all-defensive player too in the years to come.
I mean, I think that's a great pick, honestly. I think, yeah, I'm honestly jealous I didn't come up with that take. Yeah. No, honestly, I think I'm like, do I need to turn, do I need to not stand on business? But I
Stand.
guess my Paul George take is I think it was just as good as Kawhi. And if I
Oh,
put
easily.
I think if I put Kawhi second team, like, and I think Paul George is just as good. Like, so, okay, cool. We did the All
And
NBA teams.
we did the All NBA team. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's pretend that the whole I am gonna go on another quick rant here. People who have been listening to this pod have started to learn about my uh play-in tournament take about games distance behind in order to play and get in. I do not like the 65 game rule. I think that if you play enough games where you're good enough, you deserve to win some sort of an award. Bill Walton did it and he played 58 games and he won MVP. If we were to do an honorable mention list and there were guys who did not qualify either based on what we're talking about now or the games played, is there anybody that you would have included? But maybe besides Embiid,
Nope. Justin Embiid.
just Embiid.
I actually put a note on this in my notes section. I was like, the only guy who I have missing, I think, throughout my awards on any of these awards because of the game limit, I think for me is Embiid.
No Donovan Mitchell.
I mean, not really.
I have one.
I mean,
I have a guy I would have put in my third team all NBA.
55 games.
I would
Embiid also, actually, frankly, Embiid's not making it. Embiid's not making it. He played 40 games.
no, he didn't play enough. He didn't play enough.
Even if the limit, but 55 games for D Mitch,
I might have thought, would you have thought about Kyrie?
no.
I love Kyrie.
I think he's amazing, but I just like, I'm gonna be honest. Luca, like, I don't know.
Kyrie dropped a 50 bomb a couple days ago.
And they won a lot of games while Luca missed some time at certain points. Yes, but like I think I think if you just swap Paul George and Kyrie, the Mavericks are like a lot better.
Val? Valid.
But I think he's on that fringe. Also, Jalen Brown, small shout out. Thought he was on the
Jalen
fringe.
Brown. Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. No, it sucks. The best team in the league doesn't get a second All NBA player this year, and it is what it is.
Just stacked NBA issues,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I mean, that's what happens.
I guess we can go quick through the I think a lot of the rest of the awards I think we'll agree relatively
Let's see.
on.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see.
Rookie of the year, you got Wemby first, Chet second, Brandon Miller third.
So yeah, to start this season, this is from October 23rd. I had Wemby to win it. Chet was the second guy, and Scoot Henderson was the third guy, who I believe at the time was the consensus. He's going to be the third best, quote unquote, rookie, second best rookie drafted this year. What are the Hornets doing taking Brandon Miller? That narrative has quickly shifted. Although, shout out to Scoot Henderson, he has been balling recently. But as far as it goes in the top, I think you and I both agree about Wemby. He's done so much. I don't know, Max. I have a few different like memories of his rookie season, but I'm curious if there's anything that you want to like specifically bring up.
Oh, I mean, he was the player I watched the most this year by far.
Mm.
And this is he was plays for a bottom three team in the NBA. So like honestly, like that's what struck me the most. I found myself actively trying to watch. Well, I watched more Warriors games than I did Spurs games, actually. That's not fair. But like
Yeah,
in turn,
yeah.
but if we're just like between games watched and like highlight clips and just sitting on my phone and just like trying to find more clips, going back and watching like Wemby, all points scored by Wemby last night, like stuff like that. I've never done that. I've never done that for any player. Even when I was a kid and I loved Steph Curry, I was never this I don't know. I'm impassioned on following this guy. He's doing stuff I've never seen. We'll get to this later. He's the best defensive player in the league, in my opinion. The step backs, the putting back dunks that he missed, 3-point shots that he missed and putting him back. The first sham god, the first sham god he hit. Um, the game against Embiid. I think the game against Embiid where Embiid dropped what 70 and Wemby had a crazy game too. That was like felt like a coming out party. I don't know. I could go on forever. He exceeded my expectations,
Yeah, which is crazy to
which
say.
is like insane. Insane. I never thought that. I thought he was gonna average like 18 and 8.
Yeah,
Not he's gonna be okay defensively, get like no, he's hitting he's shooting 40% plus on off the dribble threes. He's 7'5". He shouldn't be taking those in general. Um, anyways, I could rant about that forever. I love him. I love watching this guy. This is like an alien, and I'm gonna enjoy watching him for his whole career.
dude. For me, I would say, I mean, I can't but echo all of your takes. He could be the greatest player of all time
Hmm.
and
Might be even on track.
might be on track, exceed expectations, which is something that hasn't happened since LeBron, honestly. And when we say exceeded expectations, let's be real. We're not talking about some Jalen Williams type of guy who he
Oh
only exceeded
wow.
expectations because we're shocked that he was good. It's more he had all the hype of being an amazing player, and he was, and arguably could be a third team All NBA guy
Yeah,
if his record was good enough.
absolutely. I looked at his when I was making my list. I did it. I double checked just to be sure I wasn't
Hmm.
hated by leaving him off. You know.
Yeah,
On the other, I guess we could wax poetic about Wemby all day. Anyway, I guess we'll do a little bit of this for me on the defense player of the year side. So like Chet, I just want to give him a shout out. Missed a year. He's gonna be a top 10 player, top 15 player in the league at some point here.
at some
Like
point.
sooner rather than later. That game winner against the Warriors,
Oh my
still
lord,
scarred,
inability.
like yeah. I don't have too much to say there. I think he's a big part. He's the third best player on best team in the West, right? So like as a
Yeah.
rookie, like there's not too much to say. Like bro's gross. He's fantastic.
But switch Wemby and Chet, and now we're talking about a championship contender.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say for me the biggest thing it felt like just watching him, he seemed to take a step, uh, if not once but twice this year. Uh,
Chet?
Wemby
Oh yeah.
during his rookie season, it just kind of felt like he was really good, and then he just became like it went from like a raw talent thing where it felt like he had a lot of 2 for 8 kind of games to pretty consistently, okay, this guy is shooting 13 for 17. What the heck is going on? Just
Holding holding some of the best players in the NBA to like 20 a game.
yeah.
Like
And then he closes it out with a 17 points in 3 minutes against the reigning defensive champions to knock them out of the number 1 seed.
ridiculous.
So yeah.
Nice.
And he's a dog too. And him and Chet are both dogs, and I'm so excited for it.
Great.
I'm so happy.
And unfortunately, there's a gap from there to Brandon Miller. And I think Brandon Miller is good and all. I'm not gonna
He's a
talk about
dog. He is a dog though.
he's good. He's gonna be good. They should rebuild around him and LaMelo and just
Yeah.
rock out from there. Like I think he he advanced their timeline on blowing it up too, I think. Like once he was that good, they were like, okay, we could take another year. It's fine.
Yeah. No
I
doubt.
don't I don't have too much to say on that award outside of that. You want to just
Yeah.
get into the rookie teams?
Sure.
Wemby, Chet, Brandon Miller, and then the rest have some fun. Who do you got for the last two slots?
I mean, this could go in a couple different ways. If you like guys that were putting up numbers late, you could take Gigi Jackson or Scoot Henderson. If you like guys that were hot early, you could take Jaime Jaquez or Asar Thompson. If you like the consistency, you go with Keontae George or Derek Lively. So that's pretty tricky. I like Derek Lively for what he did and kind of how, especially I think that was something we talked about. The Mavs needed size and they drafted Derek Lively and he played really well for them. So I'd probably take him as another guy on the rookie team. Do they have to be by position? Because if so, then we're kind of screwed. Okay, cool.
No.
So we got three centers on the all rookie team. Um, and then nothing for, but I mean, he won't be, but nothing but for vibes alone. I'll go with Pajemski just because I like how fluid and in control he was when he came into play.
Damn. I've got Pajemski too. I've got Jaime
Ooh.
Jaquez. I actually think Pajemski's probably gonna make it. He played 30 minutes a game on the Warriors, that shot 39% from three and 45% from the field. 9 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, good defense. If you compare that to Jaime Jaquez, who a lot of people are gonna have as well, who only started like 20 games to the 30 games that Pods started, like Pod stats are better. The percentages are better too. So, anyways, I also think Pods, when he moved into the starting lineup, that's when the season kind of started turning around for the Warriors. And I think that's going to ring true for a lot of the voters. But, anyways, I've got Jaquez and Pods. Lively started off super hot. And then, like, the Gafford thing obviously was going to slow him down a little bit. Um, and yeah, I just think those other two guys had a bigger impact. But for my second team, though, second team, I do have Lively. Uh, and I've got Gigi Jackson, Keontae George, and the Thompson twins.
Will we consider a little Case and Wallace action in there at some point?
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to fit him in. He probably should make it. There's just a lot of names. I think Keontae was starting point guard basically for half the year
Yeah.
and ran a team well, even though that team was tanking by the back half. Yeah, no, you're right. Case and Wallace should totally make it over, I think, a men in my case. So yeah, I'll put him in there.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know. We'll have to see. It'll be 10 of these 11 guys, though.
Yeah. Gigi, shout out to him, youngest player outside of LeBron to score 10 points or more per game over a season. Second youngest player, sorry.
Incredible.
Yeah. I think he's gonna be really good. G Jackson is doing stuff at like 6'8", where he's taking guys off the dribble like Paul George, but like it's like a little bit more ferocious. I don't know. Love him. I don't know.
He's good. I saw him play against the Celtics when the Grizzlies came to Boston. They didn't have anybody, and he balled out. He had like 25 points. He
He's
was.
good, bro. He's good. Who do you got for the second team?
Um, yeah, let's go with. I like Kaysen just because he was such a consistent 3-point shooter. Um, I like Scoot for how he came on at the end of the year. I like Jaime Jaquez. So that's three. Did I say GG? No, I didn't say GG. I like Gigi as my fourth guy, and then yeah, I like Keontae George. So I'll leave. I guess I got to leave the Twins off of there. No, did I say
Nah,
one?
you left the twins off. That's fine though. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Who
Uh,
was the first guy you said? You said Kaysen, Gigi,
Jason,
Jaime.
Gigi, Jaime, Scoot, and Keontae.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So Scoot, I did want to address. I put a little note down on this. I think he totally is valid in making a second team, and I even think you can make the argument that he could make the first team. I just think he was so bad. He
He
was
was
so
so
bad.
bad.
He was so bad for half the
You
season.
you
But
gotta have the Blazers at least in the conversation of could they make the play in at All-Star break or something like that, and they were just out of it so quickly.
or even if his stats were up, like yeah, it was. He did not look like an NBA player for the first like 30 games of the season.
Yeah,
Like honestly, like worse than Keontae George, who was getting like 2 minutes a game at that point. You
yeah.
know, so. You want to take us into the defense?
Yeah, let's do it. So for Depoy, few guys, mostly centers. Here are the options of people that we could talk about. So to start off, a guy that we've talked a lot about already, Wemby, who's been killing it, crazy plus minus defensive when he's on the court versus off the court. Then Rudy Gobert, first in defensive win shares, leading one of the best defensive teams in the league. I mean, just known as a great defensive player and has honestly shown a lot of versatility, I think, this season. Really came back from a tough last year. Bam could be another guy we can consider. AD, he was my pick for Depoy back in October 23rd. And then a wing, shout out Herb Jones, who's just been amazing this season. So those are the guys. Kick it off to you. Who would you say is your Depoy?
All right. Gobert's gonna win it. I get it.
Uh,
I think I feel very strongly. I think of all the awards, this is the one I feel the most strongly about. This is an individual defense award, and Wemby was by far the best individual defensive player in the league, in my opinion. Um, Let me give Gobert his flowers first, though. First in defensive win shares, like you said, first in defensive rating. But other things that I don't like about that are
mm.
that Ant Edwards is third in defensive rating. Jaden McDaniels probably going to be on my all NBA second team or all defensive second team list. And so when we look at these advanced stats and don't look at the fact that Wemby has basically double the blocks like per game, stuff like that. Um, I can pretty solidly make the argument, I think, that Gobert benefits from an incredibly good perimeter defense, a perimeter defense that would probably look even better with Wemby behind it, who can switch, do stuff like that. I know Gobert is amazing and all. The advanced stats love him, but the eye test, you have 3-on-1s that are blown up because Wemby's just sitting in the paint. And like I've never
Yeah,
seen that in my life.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like this is, and I'm usually a big stats guy. This is all eye test. I think Wemby was by far the best individual defender in the league this year. The on-off numbers are also fantastic, where his team gets better by like 20 points defensively with him on the court, but I'll save those.
Yeah, it's just tough because we are gonna have to give him the next four depoys in a row. So we'll have to go with that. I totally think that's valid. The only other guy I would say is AD, who's just been unbelievable anchoring the Lakers defense. I do not have the stats in front of me in terms of what their defensive record is when he's on the court, but in games where he is playing, guys are afraid to go at this dude consistently. Um, he controls the paint. He can switch. He can play against wings. He played 76 games this year, and he's an absolute fucking freak. And whoever has the displeasure of going against him in the postseason, unless it's the Nuggets, they're just really going to struggle. So
Yeah.
he's a shout out as another guy, but I really can't do much but echo what you've said. I feel like Gobert's probably going to win his fourth depoy.
Yeah.
And
Which
again,
is,
it's well
I
deserved.
I hate that. I
From a
don't
one Frenchman, Maxime, to another, congratulations. You get another French guy winning an award, but yeah, man, the other French guy, Wemby, should be winning it. So it's tough, and it is what it is. And maybe this is an opportunity for us once the postseason is over, once the awards have all come out, right? Because they don't come out until the end of the postseason
I
now.
think so, or they trickle through the post.
The
I don't
trickle
remember.
through, something like that, right? I know the MVP for sure doesn't come out till the end.
Yeah.
We can have this conversation. We can really hash out what it means to be a defensive player. And maybe, you could really make your case and speak for change because it's pretty messed up with what we're seeing right now. It tends to be the situation where it's the best player, that's the best defender on the best defensive team, yada, 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 yada. We just want to see the best players get the best awards.
Exactly. Like I know they won 20 games, but do any of us really think Gobert was better defensively this year than Wemby? Like, just like straight up. Like when you watch the games, when you ask the players around the league, like I don't know. And also, yeah, you're right. Historically, we're gonna look back. Gobert's gonna have 4 defense player of the years, and I'm gonna be absolutely like pulling hair out of my head. Like when people are gonna make like a top 100 case for him, and I'm gonna be pissed.
I don't think so, but
Or
I
a
don't
Hall of Fame case.
will. I don't think they will, but I see what you're saying.
He's
Yeah,
gonna have a Hall of Fame case. Ben Wallace. Mm,
it's 4D poise, but yeah, I mean, he won a chip. Different era. I don't know.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
If
I'm scared.
Gobert, but here's the thing: if Gobert played 20 years ago, yeah, I mean, okay, you can argue he's a top 100 player of all time because that's what the league required.
I mean, that's fair.
They don't need more. I don't know. It's tough.
If Wemby if Wemby popped up in the 1960s, it would have dropped 150 a game.
Oh my lord, that boy would have dunked on everybody.
Bro, they would have thrown him in jail for sorcery or something.
He would have started speaking in French and they would have thrown him into a pot of boiling water for being a witch.
Okay, that's we're being rogue now. I will say this top five that you gave, AD, Bam, Herb, Gobert, Wemby. That's my first team all defense.
Sure.
Thank you for taking out the positions NBA because there's like four centers who deserve it, and I think yeah, that's my top five.
Um, I probably don't have any disagreements. So who would you say is your second team All NBA?
D White, Suggs, Caruso, McDaniels, and then the fifth slot there, I'm struggling with anyone from SGA to Ant to Drew, probably.
Mm, all right, I like that. I'll go Ant. I'll go D White. I'll go Suggs. I'll go SGA, and I'll go Caruso.
No,
Um,
no Drew?
I won't go Drew.
Fair enough.
And not because I don't think he's an amazing player. I want to fully go Celtics bias, but just Jalen Brown's been great on defense this year. Tatum's been great on defense. You always have Horford, so it's kind of defense by committee. I could totally one of them will be a second team all defensive guy this year, but yeah, no Drew this year. Although I'm very happy about his contract extension. Let's
Yeah,
be
as you should be sticking around. Yeah, I think Ant again. I want to say third in defensive win shares as a player individually this season. Incredibly impressive as a guard. I know he plays most of his minutes with Gobert, but Gobert also plays most of his minutes with Ant. Nice change of scenery. Anthony. Uh, and then yeah, I don't think we need to rehash that out too much. Shout out to Suggs and Caruso. I think those two guys could be first team too if you
Can
wanted.
we throw another guy potentially on here
Mhm.
though? And not that he's going to make it, but Jonathan Isaac.
Oh, that's a good shout out. Yeah, I don't know if he played enough like throughout the season.
Yeah.
Like in terms of pure defensive player though, like
And we'll get into this before. I mean, and yeah, Spittin' Hoops fans, rest assured, we will talk about this before the postseason starts, but we'll do some of these playoff previews that we don't have right now. Obviously, we know the 3-6 and the 4-5 matchups and stuff, and we're just not going to talk about them right now because we want to see how the whole postseason's shaking out and do our whole bracket. Jonathan Isaac might cook defensively this postseason. So keep an eye out for him.
he
Anyways,
will. He will. They played him at center. Did you see that in the last game of the regular season? Love,
good. About time. Boy's 7'8". He should
love
be
it.
playing center.
Um, okay, there's four more awards here. Clutch player
Let's
of the
do it.
year, coach of the year, six man, most improved. I'm
Sure.
down to kind of move through these relatively quickly. I don't need to rehash any of these too
Yeah.
hard. Um, most improved player, I've got Maxi. Uh, I think Halliburton, the hype around that most improved player candidacy really fell off for me.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think Kobe White also is a great shout here.
Yeah. Yeah, valid. I feel like who will win it? That's gonna be Maxi, most likely. I think who should. I would have loved to say Halliburton. I wish it had continued, maybe if they're a top three seed or something like that. That changes something. We've had this conversation. Should it be the guy that goes from a quasi all-star to a next level stud? Maxi didn't really make that jump the same way that we thought that it was going to happen, like John Morant did, right? Where he was a quasi all star level player to an
So like
all NBA guy.
yeah, it's like top 12 player. Yeah.
Actually, isn't even he wasn't even. I mean, he was kind of on what like at the back of my honorable mentions for All NBA, but he wasn't even because we saw what happened when Embiid went out. They sunk in the standings. Kobe White, though, that's a different conversation because this guy went from a 10 points per game player to a 19 for the entire season, probably closer to 23 points per game for the back half of the year. So 19, 4.5 boards, 5 assists. That's the guy that I think really shot up in terms of who's the most improved, who got from good to really good versus Kobe White, or sorry, versus Max, who went from really good to very good. So that's kind of the difference there.
I think that's totally fair. I will say with Maxi, he went from playing on a team with like James Harden and Embiid, and he was getting to be the third guy who's feasting off the leftovers to like now he's an instigator.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I gave him the edge. I mean, he jumped 6 points a game, made his first All-Star team. His percentages were down though, obviously, because Embiid goes out. Now he's got to lead the team. Shot attempts go through the roof. I think Kobe White's a totally fair pick. I don't have anything bad to say there. I think for my third team, it's probably gonna be Jalen Williams. To me, in my eyes, he went from like a really good rookie to like, oh, this is the second best player on a potential championship winning team. And like, I think you can also talk about guys like Denny, Hardenstein, Dante, but I think that jump from Jalen, I did not expect. Honestly, I did not think he would be the second best player on the best team in the West. But,
Oh, totally valid. He was amazing. He was friggin' amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Six man.
Um, yeah, I know. Just a couple other things. So six man before we get into six man, yeah, Jalen Williams, incredible. Jalen Brunson, weirdly not expected to be most improved player, but just turned into one. So just wanted to give those guys shout outs. Six man, I had Nas Reed to start the year. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm cool with that.
I think you're right. I
I
think
think
he I think he's pretty clearly the six man of the
yeah,
year. He's a starting level player by
yeah.
far, by like easily. Towns
I
went
think
out. They didn't miss a beat.
no. I think this is the only guy that I predicted that wasn't obvious that hit. So I'll take it.
Shout out. You deserve it. I think the other two guys, I think for me, I got Monk and then Norm Powell
Sure.
probably. But I
Yeah.
think Monk should be the second guy here. Like I think
Yeah.
I feel pretty strongly about that.
If not the first.
But not the first. I
Yeah.
think Naz also being on a team that was that good, and
Yeah.
he when he comes into games too, I mean, he's a focal point of the offense. He's chopping 30 footers. I'm like, dude, what is
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah. No, he's amazing. His handle is great. And just like you said, Cat goes out, he comes in, plays like a guard, so really fits that similar role. Can hit threes, great guy.
No, I
So
I don't have too much to say there. I feel like the six man, the shine of this award's kind of died off with the death of like the traditional six man position. But
true.
Naz Reid being here brings my hope back into this award. One of my favorite players in the NBA, honestly.
Monday.
Um, Coach of the year.
Mm.
I think there's five guys that
Mm.
we should talk about. It's Tibbs, Mark Daigneault, Joe Mazzulla, Chris Finch, Jamal Mosley.
Oh, this is tough.
You literally can't go wrong. Tibbs
Man,
had to deal with the most injuries I've ever seen in my life. The team wasn't even that good defensively. For a Tibbs team, I think they were like 20th in defense. They still end up second in the East. Don't know how they figured that out. Trades in the middle of the season. Mark Daigneault, playing team, jumped 17 wins.
yep.
Orlando Magic, play the song if anyone.
Play that song. Shout out to our
Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. They post that. It's a
shout
great
out
song.
to our resident Orlando Magic fan, Miche.
Who came on the pod and told us they were going to be this nice and was 100% right.
He was on it.
And
He was on it.
I I honestly scoffed a little bit at it. I was like, damn, I didn't really think that. Honestly, I was like, I don't think everything Miche is saying here is going to come true. And
And
there was a lot of Fultz love that was misguided and it should have been Suggs love, but bro was spitting.
he was
I think I got Mosley first.
valid. I'll take this another one. This is I had Jamal Mosley as my coach of the year. I feel like it'll probably go to Dagnall. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
The Thunder coach, just based off of the fact that they went from the play-in to the one seed. I think that he's gonna win that. But I feel like you can also argue the growth of their players and who they had come in was helpful. But then also you talk about how he was able to have all those guys mixed together and just be so unbelievably sturdy throughout the year. So that goes into it. But like you, I'm a stand on the business that I put down at the beginning of the year. Uh, they really figured it out with this lineup. Again, Jonathan Isaac figuring it out. Jalen Suggs second year,
Third.
really turning into third year, turning into an all defensive beast. Paolo absolutely showing out. They dealt with some injuries themselves. Wendell Carter Jr., Markel Fultz for a while, and then still has been struggling. But and Franz Wagner, of course, but able to get Cole Anthony. Um, just kind of functioning in this lineup. I just like what they're doing, man. The Magic have a really bright future, and I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. I think a lot of people saw the Thunder maybe coming. I did
Yeah.
not. You did. Shout out to you, Max, for seeing that. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's actually maybe I'm giving myself too much credit. That's kind of my thing about Dagno. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Dagnall? I don't know.
yeah.
I
No.
kind of I kind of saw it coming. Like honestly, I thought the Thunder were going to be top three seed in the West. So like this was close to my expectations. I'm still incredibly impressed in the manner in which they did it. But yeah, Mosley, the team didn't change. They didn't make any big additions. Franz didn't even take the step that I expected him to take. Paolo got better, but Paolo wasn't like a shoe-in all NBA guy. And here they are sitting nice in the playoffs with a great team. And shout out to him. He deserves it. But yeah, I think my second guy,
Mm.
I think I might have said it was Dagnall, but I'm gonna switch second. I think I got Chris Finch and then Dagnall. Um, I'm not a believer in the Timberwolves. I've never been a believer in the Timberwolves, not with this setup. I go Bear, think he can't switch in the playoffs, and guess what? They shut me up. They looked great. Ant got better. They figured out the town stuff. They handed the team over to Ant, and I got to give Chris Finch a lot of credit for that, honestly.
I I'm gonna give myself some credit real quick. I had Timberwolves as the number 3 seed in the West. To be
And
fair,
you're
I had the Thunder as the 11 seed, so I very much boom or bust. Um, but yeah, shout out to Chris Finch, man. I think who was talking about this? Bill Simmons was talking about this on a pod where he went to a Timberwolves game, and something he really appreciated about Chris Finch was his calmness, where a ref would make a really terrible call and Chris Finch would hold his cool and then wait till the timeout came and then walk over to the ref and then say, "Hey man, like that wasn't cool. Like why did you make that call?" As opposed to losing it immediately. So yeah. Real quick, any anti-coach of the year guy for you?
what, like worst coach of the year?
Yeah.
Dude.
Do we have the same guy? Can we say it at the same time? Can we go 3, 2, 1 and say it?
Everyone, our viewers can do it with us too, okay?
All right, let's all do it together. Ready? Three,
Three, two,
two,
one.
one. Doc Rivers.
Mon
Whoa!
no, Monty Williams is way worse than Doc
Monty
Rivers.
Williams. Okay.
Monty Williams is way worse than
We have a
Doc Rivers.
disagreement. Wow, we have a disagreement. Interesting. So for people
No,
that heard us because we talked at the same time, Max said Monty Williams due to I won't put words in your mouth, understandably so.
dude, I mean, you could put words in my mouth, dude. Bro,
Unbelievably terrible schemes,
bro took,
playing the wrong guys during the season.
yeah, bro
Six.
took 50 games to play a guy that they picked in the top five of last year's draft, who was also all rookie first team. Like he forgot he had him. They played Sar Thompson for like 20 games. He was great. They decided to bench him. I was like, the management had to start trading players off their team for second round picks, not even actual value. Having to trade people off their team because Monty Williams kept playing Alec Burks 30 minutes and Bogdanovich 30 minutes. Ah, ah.
Yeah, that's cool. My turn.
Okay.
The record of the Bucks when Adrian Griffin was fired was 30-13. The second best record in the NBA, not the East or the West, the NBA. The Bucks finished with a record of 49-33. Let's do the math real quick. 30 plus 49, what's the difference there? That's 19 wins. 13 and 33 is 20 wins. So they finished 19-20 to close out the regular season with Doc Rivers as their head coach. We can go back and forth. I think we're kind of arguing on two different planes here because Monty Williams had a terrible team and did terribly with it, and Doc Rivers had a really great team and did terribly with it in their own right. That's my argument for why Doc Rivers is the worst coach, and you have a great argument for why Monty Williams is the worst coach. We're just talking about two different sides of the same coin, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're totally fair for picking Doc. I really thought you were gonna pick Monty because just as a viewership experience, Monty was something to behold. The first half of the season, oh my God, just great. I mean, they lost what, 27 straight games? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And with a team that's not even that bad, they didn't even end up as the worst team in the league. Like, Yeah, but on the Doc Rivers point,
Wait,
yes.
actually, Max, they did.
What?
They did end up as the worst team in the
Oh,
league.
really? I thought they ended up passing
They
up.
they they caught up to Washington, but then they ended up going behind
That's my
Washington.
Wizards. Never mind. Worst team.
Yeah, that's the Wizards, bro. They're
That's my
never gonna
Wizards.
slow you down, dude.
Um,
They
uh,
could be the
but
best
the
scorers.
let me just say on Doc, the quotes that we were getting, like
Oh,
Monty Williams just didn't seem like a good coach, but Doc Rivers seemed like he was like a therapist who got like put into like a bad situation. He's like, yeah, I'm still figuring out the players on my team. I'm like, bro, like I know you weren't a coach, but you were in the NBA a year ago coaching, and you were an NBA commentator. Like, like
yeah.
how did you not know the players on your team? Um, yeah, that was a management thing, though. I'm gonna be honest. Doc Rivers should never have been a coach this season. Doc Rivers should have been a commentator this season, and that should have been it. Like,
And you wouldn't have been in the running for the worst coach of the year.
or yeah, or winning it if it was your vote.
Yeah.
With that, clutch player of the year, I got Steph. Most highest clutch percentages, most clutch points. This, that, the other. Um, I I don't know. They played the most clutch games this season, and even though they lost, I think the majority of them, they would have lost more without Steph. He shot 50% from the field, 45% from three in clutch situations. That's what I got. You got to. This is a consolation award. Fox won it last year, and this like I'm just not gonna feel good giving the clutch player of the year award to Luka Doncic. Like,
Yeah. This is going to be a very lazy take, and I'm sorry, Max, I didn't preview this with you. This award to me, I'm not moved. I'm just not moved by this award. Like you said, it was last year there was some excitement to it. I don't know. I feel like we have like teammate of the year award, all this stuff. Honestly, we're doing too much. And I just don't honestly have a take about who the most clutch player in the NBA this year is because I think we need to wait until the playoffs. So, but your take on Steph, I think you're right. I think you will win most clutch player of the year. He's been extremely unbelievably clutch this year. He's really battled against some perhaps maybe lazy narratives that used to exist that Steph wasn't very clutch earlier on in his
oh
career,
yeah,
which
very
I had to
lazy.
deal with. But they were very pervasive as well. And so, yeah, I mean, shout out Steph. I mean, he did, of all the guys, he definitely deserves it. Um, Other guys from this season who could be clutch, man,
DeMar, and
are
honestly, Shea,
perhaps
Shea
Jalen,
Jokic,
Jalen Brunson could be
Jalen
another
Brunson.
guy who just has that, or to Halliburton if it had started. LeBron could be a clutch player of the year. He actually led the league in fourth quarter points per game this season, so that could be another guy.
Yeah.
But I
I'm
mean,
I'm
yeah,
not moved either, frankly.
yeah, just not moved.
Like it's fine. Like also like I'm gonna be honest, I'm not moved by sixth man of the year or most improved at this point, frankly. Like most improved should stick around. Sixth man and yeah, sixth man can go. I don't care about the sixth man of the year award. It should just be like the best role guy.
Yeah, I like that.
And then
Well,
like people can just define role guy as they
yeah,
want. And
yeah,
then Draymond would have had nine of them.
yeah. RPOTY. Yeah,
Yeah, like that's what it should be because like if I start 40 games just because I did, who cares? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I think my list here is probably like Steph, Jokic, everyone else. I think Jokic is really clutch this year too.
just always so clutch, dude. He's just amazing.
But particularly the way like defensively he stepped it up in the clutch this season, really impressive. That's why I wanted like I would definitely put him second.
Not bad.
Um,
I feel that. Um,
did we
I
did we
think
just go through all the
we
awards?
cover all the awards. I think so. Next, I feel like we will probably make a pod soon because we gotta do some playoff previews. But play-in preview real quick just to go over it. So Max has the Pels over the Lakers in the first game, Dubs over the Kings in the second game. I also have the Dubs over the Kings. I have the Lakers over the Pels, unlike Max. We agree on Sixers over the Heat, and we disagree on Hawks over Bulls. even though neither of us probably care too much about that game, to be honest. Although I'm sure we'll both watch it. That's where we're going to start. Do
MVP we
yeah,
MVP we both had Jokic,
both have Jokic,
Luka
rookie,
followed, then
MVP.
SGA, Giannis, Tatum.
Yeah,
All NBA team. That was the first team. Second team, you had Brunson and AD, Bron, KD. I swapped out Bron for Kawhi. Third
yep,
team, you had Curry, Paolo, Book, Halliburton, Kawhi. I had Book, Curry, um, Paul George, Bron, and Halliburton.
yep,
Rookie of the year, Wemby, Chet, Brandon Miller. Rookie teams, you had Jaime and Lively on your first team. Second team, you had GG. Or no, you had Pods on Lively and Pods on your first
yep.
team. Second team, you had GG, Jaime, Casey Wallace, Keontae George Scoot. I had Lively, GG, Keontae, Casey Wallace, Ausar Thompson on my second team. Defensive player of the year, both had Wemby.
Yep.
All defense. We both had the same first team, which were our five guys: Herb, AD, Gobert, Bam, Wemby. I had White, Suggs, Caruso, McDaniels, Drew. You swapped out Drew for Ant, MIP, Maxi,
Yep.
six
I'll
man,
I'll go with Kobe.
but six man, and then I'm swapping that. Like I was 1 and 2 with Maxi,
Yep.
Kobe. Yeah, we're swapping that. 6 man, Naz Reid.
Oh,
Coach of the year, we both had Mosley.
Mosley.
Shout out the Magic. Orlando Magic. Um, Clutch Player of the Year, Steph. Yeah, that's the award. Damn, we just ran through all those. If any of these don't happen when the votes come out, you can go email angrily whatever media member that is and tell them they were wrong because we said these are the right votes.
We were correct, and they were not.
The sanctioned voters by the NBA were wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Fake
Wrong.
news.
Yeah. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith for talking about how he's seen Quentin Grimes really balling for the Knicks recently. So that's who you're listening to, NBA fan base.
He doesn't
Follow.
have a vote at least.
He does.
Wait, no, he doesn't.
Stephen A. Smith has a vote.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
I think he does, dude. And
I'm
this,
pretty sure he does not.
I hope you're right.
I'm
I
oh 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 no.
He has a vote, dude. A lot of people that
Can we
kind of
guess who he voted for MVP? I found his vote. I found his vote
last year,
this year. This year, who did he vote for MVP? He tweeted about it.
Jay probably.
What?
Jay probably. Tatum. Or
Okay.
oh, Shay. Yeah. He was on a big Tatum kick for a minute. Yeah, not
I
surprised.
can't. All right. Well, maybe
Sean
you can
Spicy.
email Stephen A. Smith. We'll see.
Yeah.
With that, you want to take us away?
Yeah, baby. Hey, followers, subscribers, keep commenting, keep reaching out to us, engage with this basketball discourse because we do not do this stuff so we can get the views and the likes and the comments. Although we love that, we do this for the engagement and the entertainment because we love the NBA. So, without a further ado, Max and I, we will be chilling, watching, enjoying the playing games, and we will be spitting hoops, baby, until the next time we see you. Take it easy.
1 year anniversary.
Happy 1 year.